Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Here.
Mr. Franco.
I am here.
And Mr. Cabrera.
I am here. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the notice requirements have been satisfied as to the time, place, and date of holding said meeting by posting notice on the bulletin board here in Borough Hall and by mailing and emailing same to the Herald of Cape May County on October 4th, 2023, and the Press of Atlantic City on December 13th, 2023. In the event of an emergency, your emergency exit is the door you came in, which is our back, your back right, our front left, or just by the American flag, your front left, our front right. A couple quick announcements. This meeting, as I mentioned earlier, is being shown live here today on the borough's Facebook and YouTube channels. I'm understanding we get a lot of people watching, so hello to all watching remotely who aren't here in the audience. Thanks for joining us. If you have a question or comment that you would like to ask, if you are watching remotely, you can dial the conference line at 888-363-4734, and when prompted, you're going to enter the access code 9699020, followed by the pound or the hashtag. If you happen to watch the recorded version of this meeting and you have questions or would like to make a statement or a comment, you're more than welcome to email our clerk at clerk@wildwoodcrest.org, or you may phone her at 609-729-8040. Madam Clerk, may we have the ordinances, please? One ordinance today.
Yes. The first is ordinance 1433 regarding fences.
Motion that ordinance number 1433 be placed on second reading and final passage by title only.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that ordinance number 1433 be placed on second and final reading by title only.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Ordinance 1433 reads as follows. An ordinance of the Borough of Wildwood Crest amending Section 85-82, Fences and Walls of Chapter 85 of the Code of the Borough of Wildwood Crest, Land Use Ordinance.
Motion that a public hearing now be held on ordinance number 1433.
Second that?
It has been moved and seconded that a public hearing on ordinance number 1433 now be held.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes, floor is open. Public comment, ordinance number 1433. Start with anybody here in the audience today. Go to the conference line. Anybody on the conference line have any public comment on ordinance number 1433? Hearing none?
Motion that a public hearing on ordinance number 1433 now be closed.
Second that?
It has been moved and seconded that a public hearing on ordinance number 1433 now be closed.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that ordinance number 1433 be passed on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Second that?
It has been moved and seconded that ordinance number 1433 be passed on second and final reading and advertised according to law.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next, we have the resolutions. The first is authorizing amendment of resolution number 24-160 to reflect total emergency cost, $465,716.75, and authorizing approval of change order number 1, Park Boulevard Sanitary Sewer Replacement, to reflect as-built quantity adjustments at the not-to-exceed sum of $5,957.95.
I'll motion that?
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing abatement of fee to Big Time Vending for loss of revenues in 2023 in the amount of $1,600, resulting from loss of concession areas due to construction activities.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing compliance with the annual audit requirements and directing members of the governing body to execute the group affidavit in accordance therewith.
Motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing contracts with certain approved state and national contract vendors for calendar year 2024.
Motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is requesting permission for the dedication by rider for donations for community activities as required by NJSA 40A:5-29.
Motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the Borough of Wildwood Crest to enter into a contract for cooperative purchasing with the Florida Sheriff's Association Cooperative Purchasing Program.
Motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the following appointments for the Borough of Wildwood Crest Planning Board. Brian Stewart as Class 4 member, Vincent Tenaglia as alternate number 1 member, Bradley Vodges as alternate number 2 member, and Jane Reynolds as alternate number 3 member.
Motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is canceling erroneous 2024 sewer rents in the amount of $124 for property located at 419 East Atlanta Avenue.
Motion?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the borough to cancel grant account receivables and appropriations.
Motion?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the chief financial officer to pay the prescribed flat rate per hour to law enforcement pursuant to the 2024 Summer Shore Pedestrian Awareness Campaign.
Motion?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing amendment to the 2024 municipal budget to account for additional funding from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety for the 2024 Summer Shore Pedestrian Awareness Campaign Grant.
Motion?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is approving agreement with TNC LLC to provide 2 affordable housing units.
Motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Abstain?
And Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the Borough of Wildwood Crest to grant a waiver of fee for street opening permit.
Motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Quick question about this one. We're waiving a fee for the street application for the
Crest Savings
Crest
Bank.
Savings. Okay. Was there, I know there was emails floating around for that one. Was there a meeting for that?
Yes,
Who was involved with that meeting?
it was Mark, Don, Rick, Alan, is he there? No. I have to look at my notes.
From the borough you're talking about?
Yeah.
John McCann.
John McCann from the.
So
Public
no
Works
one
Department.
from the construction department was there?
No.
They usually handle the street opening, that's why I've asked.
We did speak with them after and talk to them about it.
But they weren't
Mm-mm.
invited to that meeting?
No.
Okay. I would suggest next time maybe invite the construction department who handles that to that meeting. They handle it.
That's Christian's there.
So, yes,
So roll call. Okay, so Mr. Franco
yes.
and Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Lastly is authorizing cancellation of a 2025 Western Star 47X setback axle truck and authorizing expenditure to purchase a 2024 Western Star 47X setback axle truck for Public Works under state contract.
Tongue twister there. huh?
It was.
I'll, motion?
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes, I just want to go back to number 13 on this waiver of the street opening permit. So the request was to understand the problem that we were having. The request to waive fees was not made known to us prior to the advance of that scheduling of that meeting. It was to discuss how Public Works and the private property interacted with the main sanitary sewer line. So it had nothing to do with the request to waive fees. That request came at the meeting, and then as Connie admitted, the office was brought up to speed. So I just want to make sure there's clarity there.
They handle the street opening, so they have to sign off on it, so they weren't aware of that. So that's my point. I don't know.
Now, again, it was more on the construction side because there was a problem with the drainage from the property to the main. That was the premise for the meeting, just to understand what that was and whose responsibility was it to fix it. That was the reason why we were meeting. So all of Crest Savings representatives, including Bo Belasco, the plumber, and so forth, they were all there to
Except the
understand.
construction department.
Right, but it's looking at a video underneath how Public Works saw it versus how their plumber saw it. That's what it was. It had nothing to do with the permit fees.
Got it. Motion that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid. Roll call, Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
And Mr. Cabrera.
Yes. Correspondence. Nothing listed under correspondence. Moving on to discussion, we have under there the UEZ 5-year plan. Connie, you want to bring everybody up to speed on what's needed for that?
Sure, the state now requires any UEZ application that goes before them to be a part of a 5-year plan that we would have in place. Since we are a member of the Wildwoods UEZ, we are collectively working on that 5-year plan, so your input would be, very important as to what you want in there. Our 2024 application has already been submitted, and that one would not count towards this 5-year plan requirement. But going forward, anything that we would apply for in UEZ funding, which is approximately $70,000 we get per year, would have to be a part of that 5-year plan or wouldn't be considered by the UEZ Commission. So it's something we should be working on, something we should be thinking about going forward. And I've sent a few emails about that, and your input would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so I think my thought is the UEZ funds are generated by those businesses that are in the UEZ zone. So any project funds that come from the state as a result of all that, that money should be reinvested back into the UEZ zone. So it could be in the form of amenities, upgrades, professional fees, architectural fee, engineering fees, etc. I don't think we're talking a lot of money, but I do think that the money should go back into the UEZ zones, those businesses that are in those zones.
That sounds fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely, that's fine.
Constance, do you need, do we have, what's the next step? Do we need to?
I will take that and then report it over to Steve Bowie, who is our UEZ coordinator, and let him know.
Okay, thank you. All right, pickleball courts. So we've had some wars at the pickleball courts. People arguing over skill levels and use of courts and so forth. So it's my understanding that Recreation has placed some temporary signs and have had some discussions with some of the individuals that are there. It has been requested that we eventually and soon codify all of our public recreational spaces to make sure that the police department has the ability to enforce said laws at these parks. So I believe that ordinance is in the works. I think Recreation will be initiating those changes and working with the police department to get that all going, and obviously working through Ron to get it on the agenda at some point. But if everybody's watching, please play nice at the pickleball courts. People are here on vacation. Everybody just have fun. Oh my goodness.
That's unfortunate.
All right. MJPPI 2024 annual update.
The PPI is a derivative of our participation in our floodplain management with the state. I thought that this was going to be done by Rick, but apparently it's not here. Every year we have to submit to the state our plans for floodplain management. It has to do with our CRS ratings, and we're supposed to put this on the agenda as part of that initiative.
Do you need Ray to come down and re-explain things, or are you okay?
Yeah, we'll be fine.
All right.
Can we put this on the next
Yeah.
agenda?
Sure.
All right, let's move it to the next agenda for his presentation. Okay, under old business, 250th birthday committee, just would like to remind everybody to keep thinking about folks who participate on that committee. Wildwood Crest Municipal App, there was an initial meeting scheduled, which we had a Zoom call. We're just diving into those details and the quotation that was received for that. Old Tourism Building Use 2025, nothing new on that. Historical Museum, nothing new on that. Proposed amendment to Chapter 79 time limit parking. I know that that's a bigger work product between Mr. Yelzunis and the PD. There's going to be a lot of changes and revisions to that. A lot of it has to do specifically to the New Jersey Avenue Business District. Concession agreement, hotel zone, and beach chairs, that's on hold. Traffic calming, nothing new. There was a meeting, I guess I applied for a grant, and I think there's a follow-up meeting with
Yes.
Collier's Engineering.
There will be 2 meetings. I just found out today that Colliers has asked us to participate tomorrow in a meeting with the South Jersey Transportation Authority to go over a request for them to do a letter of support for our Safe Streets for All federal application. We can achieve up to $200,000 in grant funding for a study and also some improvements that would be done as like a test case. So in other words, the flashing beacons for pedestrian crossing, things of that nature. We could do a few improvements to see if they work in certain areas versus others. So that meeting tomorrow, just for the letter of support, the request to the South Jersey Transportation Authority, would be tomorrow. I just found out about that at noon. And then next week with the police admin to go over their thoughts in preparation for the application. So, and I know that Commissioner Schiff, you were also invited to participate in that particular meeting with Colliers. And they are our grant writer for this.
Okay. Back Beach excavation, that's on hold pending the Army Corps project. Anything new on dredging?
We do, Mayor. I think Connie could really dive into that. I don't know if you want to save that for the next meeting on your report, or just give
I was going to put it on my next report, but as far as the Back Bay dredging, we did meet with Scott Douglas recently, and he did assure us that phase 2 of the Wildwoods State Channel dredging is going to happen next year. They are still in the acquisition phase for Shaw Island. Ephraim's Island is now submerged, so that is now a state property. They wouldn't have to acquire that. They are going to be doing some ecosystem restoration with this, with the channel dredging, with the dredge materials. They are going to be redirecting the state's channel from what we originally knew it and adding a leg to it that takes you towards the yacht club, which is going to be very beneficial to everyone. The CDF, the Confined Disposal Facility, is is planned to be on Shaw Island. They are going to be emptying that. It is almost full capacity now. They will be, as part of the plan, emptying that CDF. That material will be taken and offloaded, and a majority of it will be used to shore up the berms that surround it to make it more viable for future dredging. And the remainder of the island outside of the CDF is planned to be taken over by Fish and Wildlife. So that will be an ecosystem restoration in and of itself. So the CDF will be restored once they get the acquisition done, and we are definitely on track for next year for phase 2. Scott Douglas has announced his retirement. He is the head of the Maritime Division. But he has assured us that his staff and the engineers that work with him will be able to, continue this project and do just as good of a job. And he will be staying on as a consultant in future years to help with these types of matters.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
New Jersey Avenue infrastructure pre-county, that's still in the making. I guess we're waiting on just getting I guess we got to get some more details worked out with the county and I know, Mark, you had given a proposal on that, so we need, I guess, at some point as we move forward, because again, if we're backing into this, the infrastructure work, The county has indicated that their project's going to start in 2026, spring of 2026, which means our work has to be done between now and then. So I guess we just need to go back and revisit that and check that out. Public Works roof, the funding is in place. We're just waiting on the materials to hopefully start that project at the end of August into September. Bayside outfalls and bulkheads, I think, Mark, we're about ready to go out to bid on that next meeting or August?
Yeah, at the next meeting, we're gonna be requesting a resolution to bid the project. We'll provide a project schedule, and once that passes, I believe we'll be in the paper following week.
That's correct.
So, yeah, the next meeting, July.
July 25th.
Okay. Thank you.
Washington Avenue, Seaview, Beach and Outfall lines, we're still waiting for Mr. Rotella. All right, so that wraps up new and old business. We're going to move right on to public comments, and we do have a closed session after that, so we'll start with anybody here in the audience for any public comments. Come on up to the podium, we just need your name.
Good morning.
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 Mike Garofalo is my name. 306
we
East
don't need
Hollywood.
that.
Excuse me?
We don't need that, sir. Just your name.
Mike Garofalo.
Yep.
My concern today is twofold. We're putting up a home next to our property. We're here almost 42 years. Beautiful home. Building contractors seem to be just doing whatever they want to do. I come down and everything's fine. I go home for another 2 days, or 3 days. I come back. My chain link fence is removed. My back fence is cut off. My corner posts are removed. So I don't have a marker where my property line is. I look in the front of my property. They beat up the side grass. Fine be it. Grass comes back. But the corner where my marker is, a concrete monument, it's not there. I talked to the builder. He said he thought it was his fence. I don't know how he thinks it's his fence, because if you pull my survey from 1983, it's clearly marked it's my fence, both in the rear side and the side yard. A little bit more looking at the property. In removing it, that not only have they damaged the fences and removed my corner posts, my retaining wall under my carport, it's about a 3-foot by 4-foot brick section. And the more I look at it, I'm an engineer, the more I look at it coming out of my door, I see something irregular, and I go down there. When they pulled the fence out, they broke the blocks. They broke the bricks. All in all, he's gonna fix it. It's not the point. Why did he take it off? Why did he touch it without a phone call? Okay? He puts up a 6-foot fence. It looks good. It's a white fence. The proposed plan, and I have no idea why a proposed plan and an actual gets changed. I guess it does. But 6-foot fence versus 5-foot fence, it's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Problems I have is that I believe his fence is on my property. I have no recourse until I talk to the construction people. They don't get a final survey until the building's finished. Then what? What do I do? The fence is done, his concrete's done, his cabana is there. It says a cabana should be 4 foot off the line. I don't know if that's an ordinance or not. It's less than 4 foot. There's an overhang on the roof, which protrudes even closer. I don't know what the ordinances are down here in detail, but I certainly know a little bit about building. We have an ordinance. I tried to call the construction office for 2 weeks. I finally got to him. The code enforcer came to me, and he brought in Rick, the construction guy. And we came down there, and I looked at my issues. And my issue is that when you approved, and we don't have to know about the plan, because everything seems to be to code. So there's no written notices to residents within 200 feet. His parking area, which he provides 4 parking places, I provide 4 or 5 on my side. But I'm 3, 4 feet away from him. He's right on my line. So I talked to Rick, I talked to the code enforcer, they can't do anything. They can't, there's no codes to enforce. Rick said to me, it's a civil matter. How the hell is it a civil matter? I didn't create this problem. I'm talking more and the builder comes over and I said, I don't understand how they're going to be parking 2 cars along that line. He's got a protrusion with the fireplace, which encroaches into a parking area. And I believe Rick said, well, maybe he's going to back in. Maybe. But when he realized that protrusion was there, he's not going to back in. So I said to the fellas, how are they going to get out? And the answer from the builder was, he's going to walk on your grass. How does that happen? I'm an older fella. I've been here 41 years. I'm not looking for the neighbors, which I don't really know, for my children to have problems in the future. How do they put up a parking right there on the line? I don't know where the line is. The monument is moved. The grass is cut off where the monument was. So there's several issues there with construction. Mr. Mayor, I know you have you wrote an article in the Herald answering someone who complained about building noise. And you know what? I think you said lawnmowers make a lot of noise also. But certainly lawnmowers make noise 15, 20 minutes and they're gone. What happens today, and I hope that none of you witness a home on each side of your property being built like this. Constant noise, constant stonework dust coming up. They're not using wet stone cutters. The builder says, talk to the people. They don't care. They don't care about the ordinances. They don't care about the time. I'd like to know why we changed, maybe you can tell me, enlighten me, why we changed to having building construction in the whole summer, where we used to stop May 15th till September. It was great for us.
That's not true. No demolition.
It's demolition work.
No demolition or pile driving through that time frame.
Today, what happened in the years past?
Now, as far as I recall, there's always been construction allowed during the summer.
I wasn't aware of that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. I was told that this ordinance was changed, and it now happens. And again, it's the me too. It's not me. If it wasn't next to me, I probably wouldn't have an issue. But every day, I'm here 60, 70% of the year. My neighbors are out there worse than I. Noise, they want to pour a pool, Memorial Day time frame. 800 horsepower motor on a flatbed, 10 feet away from my window, pumping for 8 hours, making noise. I mean, it's just continuous. I did call the police. I came to the construction office and found out the law, 8 to 6. And you give us a break on Saturday, 10 to 6. We could sleep a little bit. But the contractors don't care. They're there at 8 o'clock on Saturday. They're there later on during the week. Again, I called the police 3 times this week, and then I stopped. It's like batting your head against the wall. It's not the police's fault, all right? I called the first time. By the time the police came, because I mentioned it to the contractors, are you quitting? He says, no, probably at 8, 9 o'clock. This was 6:30, 6:15 to 6:30. By the time the police came, they vacated. The next day, they're walking around strutting their stuff, and I said, I didn't really say anything. I said, I think you should be done. He says, yeah, later on. I called the officer again. And the same officer came, well, first officer came, and he advised me that they can work till 8 o'clock. Well, I said to him, I went to the construction office and it was 6 o'clock. they weren't sure of the ordinance. What they had in the police department was 8 o'clock. So I had to hear it from him. I went back to the construction office and I talked to Pam, and she said, it's there, it's on the wall, and you can look it up. And the next night, called again. And two officers arrived. And again, he said to me, we told you last night it was 8 o'clock. And I'm saying, it's 6 o'clock. And Mr. Mayor, the particular, and gentlemen, the particular incident isn't the issue. It built up to a crescendo where now it just has to be vented. He comes and they just start checking. He tells me it's still 8 o'clock. I said, here, read the ordinances, look it up on your computer. They looked it up. Finally, after about 15 minutes, the two of them agreed that it was 6 o'clock. They tell the people. Takes them till about 7:45 to get out of there. And the next 3 days, they're still there. I'm tired of calling. I should call, but I'm looking like a fool every time I call for these people because they are not being told what they should and shouldn't do. The particular guy says, I live in town. I know the law. Well, so do I live in town. Not full-time, but 70% of the time, I'm down here. So I've got several issues, Mr. Mayor. I see a proposed plan that I got a copy of. I said earlier, I'm worried about the parking right there and how these people are going to get in to their property. I'm looking ahead. I don't know exactly. I don't want to have problems. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the cabana. I'm looking at the driveway. This proposed plan says 16-foot cutout. I got a 16-foot apron. I've got 5 spots to go in. This is 22 feet. It's changed from this. But this is approved, issued. It's issued on certain dates and approved. I don't know if they constantly upgrade this and update it for changes. But when does something get set in stone? And this was the first I received this copy because I asked for it. And I see these changes. Overall, the building is great. I'm looking at some minor problems. I'm looking at some noise constraints. I'm looking at for the next person that has this home built next to him. So be it. That's what I have to say, Mayor. The foundation print is here, their foundation print. Doesn't show for protrusions. If you allow 10 feet for a sideline and you come in 6 inches, 8 inches for a fireplace, does that minimize the 10-foot sideline for parking?
Right.
I don't know.
The approval that you said you have, is that a construction approval or is that a planning board approval?
I got it from the construction office, and it's a plot plan, proposed plot plan that's has dates on it, issued for zoning approval, 11/23, issued for foundation approval, issued for permit, added plantings, added cabana, revision as per review, all the way down to from November 23 till March of 24 on this copy, where they're revising it. But would you like to see it? You're more than welcome.
No, we can, if you don't mind, you can, after the meeting, you can make a copy in the clerk's office and leave it with us. But I just want to make sure that I can capture your concerns, if I may. There, you have a proposed plan, you have concerns with respect to parking with the cabana. There's been other changes made. You want to know when the final, from the plan that you see versus what you see there now, there's been some changes. So when is the final plan for the changes? And then noise. Right? Those were the issues. Did I capture them all?
Yeah, but you didn't capture the first one. They destroyed my corner markers.
Okay.
They destroyed my property.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, I can understand. You think. But part of the building process is checking the boundaries. The boundaries appear to me a fence on my line. Could it be an inch? Could it be 5 inches? Could it be 2 inches? I think so. But I don't have a survey. I don't have to I mean, you're gonna force me to get a surveyor to come in here? The same thing with the sideline. I haven't had a fence up there for 41 years on the side, up front in my property. They're gonna walk on my property? Should I put a fence up? Why? Why did I have to incur an expense for a fence to keep somebody off my property? All right? They can walk right across, and it's an issue that's gonna be a problem. I don't want it to be a problem for my children, and I'm looking forward to having nice neighbors. I'm not dealing with the neighbors right now, I'm dealing with the contractor and his construction people who could care less.
Okay, so if you can, leave that information, we can at least make a copy for it, and all your contact information with the clerk's office, and then one of the governing body members with our staff will take a look at it, and we'll get back to you as to what we can do, what can be done, and what your recourses may be. I'm not sure, honestly, with respect to the corner markers being moved, that may very well be between you and the property owner and or the developer, unfortunately.
Why
But
is
the
that?
other thing is that.
Why is that, Mayor?
It's not on public property, it doesn't involve, that's something that someone's gonna have to prove one way or the other whose property it is. And I get you're saying it's yours, and for whatever reason, they said it was there, so there seems to be a dispute there that's gonna have to be worked out.
Well, no, he didn't say it's theirs and it's mine. My survey shows my corner posts. Official, filed in Cape May County. It's official. He removed them.
Okay, but you said that part already got worked out. Did you say that?
Nothing got worked out. He put up a fence.
Okay.
I have no idea if the fence is on my line, on his line, where it is. All right? Small, but big to me. Why did they take it down without calling? Why did they break the foundation? Okay? Why did they cut the back fence and just patch it? Yeah, he's gonna fix it, Mayor. That's not the issue. Why did they touch it in the first place?
Yeah, and I don't think any of us here have that answer. That, again, that's
Understood.
something that's gonna be, we're gonna have to do some homework on that, but I don't know if the borough is in a position or can assist in that, and I'll certainly defer to our solicitor on that, but I'm not aware of anything that we can do in that regard.
No, Mayor, I mean, you're right, it's a dispute between two property owners, a boundary dispute over where a fence is. Unfortunately, they're quite common, usually resolved by someone getting a survey and
Well,
determining
I'm
where
sorry.
it is.
I'm sorry. The survey will come later on.
So
And then what?
Rick will do a final inspection of that property when it's completed, and then he'll determine the property lines. And if that is true, then they would have to remove their fence and put it onto their property. If that's
Okay.
what, I think
That's what I'm-
if I'm hearing you correctly, I think that
If that's the course of action, if that's the procedure, fine.
typically.
I can wait. I can wait. I'm looking at it right now for a problem with property, all right? Noise. But I thank you for your time and listening, okay?
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience, public comments? Anybody on the conference line have any public comments before we go into commissioner comments in closed session?
Yes, I do. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ann, and I'm calling with maybe questions or comments, considerations to offer regarding the tickets that were given to a lot of folks at the Memorial Pool over the holiday weekend. So I'm not sure if that was one commissioner that made that decision, or the board, or who should I direct my comments to?
Okay, so if you received a ticket at the municipal pool, that tells me that there were vehicles or a vehicle illegally parked. There is no overnight parking there unless you're using the pool facility. So is that what you're talking about? That is a local law? That is an ordinance that was codified. I think it was last year or maybe earlier this year.
Yeah, I have some questions regarding that. So my understanding from the officer who wrote the tickets, or who was in charge of the people that wrote the tickets, notified somebody, one of the commissioners that's here today, I believe, and said that there was no parking available. There was no parking available for anybody, and the excess and overflow was going to the pool. And a commissioner responded with, ticket them anyway. And so I just want to get.
That's true.
whoever made
That's not true at all.
Nobody answered you that way. And I am the Commissioner of Public Safety. So if they were,
Okay,
cars
so
were parked there
that's-
overnight,
that's
there's
the police
signage
officer.
there. And the signage
Hang on a
states,
second, hang on, that's not my question. But please wait until I finished. The comment on record by the officer who I spoke with yesterday said your comment was ticket then anyway, after he expressed concerns that there was no parking. And I'm gonna tell you, as I'm sure you witnessed, it was dangerous. It was dangerous. There's not even room to see a child come out between cars, and believe me, there was plenty of them. You should have allowed that overflow to go into the pool. You should have allowed it. It would have made things safer. There was nowhere to park. There was nowhere to put my vehicle. I have 2 family members who had to park because there was no place to stage their cars for deliveries. They work for local restaurants. There was no place to put their cars. How are they going to do their job? Okay. Furthermore, somebody took 6 to 8 parking spaces in front of the pump station where 6 to 8 cars would have not been at that pool, but you took them away for the pump station. We never needed all those spaces reserved and blocked for the last pump station that was on the other side. So you took all those spaces away. Furthermore, you plopped 2 giant sheds on the grassy area by the pump station without any notice. You just plopped them there. We don't know what they're doing there. Children used to play. There was a little space for them. So that's gone. You took our parking spaces away, and then you go and ticket us. And I understand there was a swim team event, and I get that, you know. But I'll tell you, I live right there at the pool, and 99.9% of the time, there's 5 to 10 cars in the parking lot. And I would further suggest that the swim team people who had to drive to the event didn't suffer for a parking spot, but yet you ticketed everybody. And I'd like to know what the heck we're having swim team meets on a big 4th of July weekend where we need that parking space. And even though you put up an ordinance, when was it put up? Was it put up right before the holiday? Did anybody even know it was there or going in? So these are my concerns, that it was borderline rude to ticket people when there was no cars, and you were told that there's no parking spaces, and you took them away from the pump station. So all of this adding up seems very unfair to us. You know the economy, you know the inflation. You had so many people down here. This town made a ton of money, but you still had to ticket people. So they're my concerns, and I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things for consideration, okay? Number one, if a police officer reports to you that there is no parking available, you need to reconsider, because those cars have to go somewhere. When they don't have a legitimate place to park, they go in front of stop signs and fire hydrants, which is a worst safety issue. And I think it's a reasonable consideration to use what we pay for, our assets, our infrastructure. When you need overflow, you need emergency parking. And I think you need to work that into your plan. I think you need to strongly consider it. And I think you also need to say, not stand on signage and ordinances, but when do you put them in, and did you notify the public? Did you put them in right before the 4th, so we're all screwed with tickets now? Because a lot of people use that pool when we're busting at the seams, and it's not hurting the pool. Hardly anybody goes to the pool. I live here. There's like 10 spots a day that are taken. So I think it was an overreaction on your part, and I think that you should have reconsidered that in terms of safety. And so here's what I'm going to suggest that you consider. Number one, give us back 6 spaces in front of that pump station. You have some vehicles that go up from time to time. They can park in the pool and walk over. We need the extra spaces, number one. I'd also like you to write a letter to the judge and say to waive all the tickets that the police officers had to write against their own will because of your direction. So I want those tickets removed. I want the spaces back reinstated in front of the pump station. I want the memorial pool to be able to be handled for overflow when it's dangerous down here, when it's dangerous, okay? And I want to know when those giant sheds are going to be released so the little ones that can't play in the street can get their green space back. So I'll stop there, and I would really respectfully request your answers to those. Thank you.
Well, first of all, the police do not report to me. They report to the chief. And the chief is in charge of parking and all the spaces that are in town. Those signs that were up for the pool, I believe, came up, the ordinance came through like 4 months ago, and then the signages went up. We are not responsible to report or send letters out or notifications of where signs are or where signs are not. So that's two of the answers right there. The sheds are beach patrol sheds that were asked to be removed from Public Works. The mayor was kind enough to find a spot to open up spaces for Public Works. They were originally on the beach. The DEP asked us to remove them for dune problems. We are now in court trying to sue back to get those spaces. So there's a lot of parts that are moving. For all the requests that you made, I'd like to say yes, but that will never happen, because that would mean I would have to do that for everybody, and it's just not the way our ordinance is written. And yes, we did have one heck of a weekend with probably the most cars I've ever seen on this island, and it was a problem for all. It's not just your problem, it's something that we're trying to look at, but I don't have space, and we have a lot of cars. I know a few years back, to create more spaces, I don't know how many years it was, we shortened the parking box where it went from so many feet to a smaller area, like North Wildwood has it even smaller than ours. I don't like, and I will not, under my administration, shorten that parking block, because that means someone can't see out further past the car. I know I have a problem with it, but we're not going to change that. That would be the only way we could probably increase any spots, and that's not going to happen. I believe we're right where we're supposed to be right now. So I just want you to make yourself clear and make my statement clear to you that I didn't tell the police. The police are following what they are supposed to do. They are following the rules and the laws. No one came to me and said, that's great, put tickets on things. But my word to you, in all fairness, park legally, and you will not get a ticket. And those tickets will never be waived. Thank you.
Okay, so in all fairness to your comment, you can't park legally when there is no parking, right? And so my comments back to you is, when are you going to make a provision to use that full parking lot, which is relatively vacant, as controlled parking on when you need it, when the citizens need it?
I understand.
So why not?
I understand your point, but the request came in, and our administration, our commissioners all agreed that there will not be overnight parking there, because once again, I feel personally, and I don't want to speak for the other two commissioners, that we get abused. And that was a spot that was abused. I heard from the rec department, I heard from the police department. There were a number of cars that were parked there, this is before the signs. A number of cars there were parked overnight, and they were there for many days. So that was just uncalled for. That pool is a public pool for people to come and go and park.
Okay, so you have an asset in my world, corporate world, finance world. You create assets to be used to the fullest. So we've got an asset that we're not using when we need it during peak times. And you're saying it's because a few people said it was abused, for maybe 5, 10 cars that maybe abused it. So we're gonna just put that off the table. That doesn't make any sense to me. You have available infrastructure that was paid for. Nobody uses the pool. It's like 10, 20 people. I go by there about 8 to 10 times a day, no lie, between driving and walking and dog walking. And there's maybe 7 cars there at a peak time. I mean, you've got an asset there, and you are holding the red line when you could be rescuing a lot of people during these peak times. I'm not saying, just any old weekend, but when you're expecting the amount of people that we're expecting, and you're not using that asset, it just seems just foolish,
Well,
right?
let me take this one step, okay? And this will be hopefully my last comment towards this thing. So you're complaining that you didn't really know when the signs are up. Now you're asking us to deviate the times and make it certain and make a decision and do this and do that. I think that would be extremely harmful and extremely upsetting for our people that park here, for our residents. I think it's too confusing. I would never do that.
Okay, so why can't you just waive people on big weekends where there's no parking and the officer says there's no parking, whether he said it to you or whomever? The report from the officer's mouth yesterday was that he was told by commissioners, whoever that was, that ticket them anyway. And he
Okay,
reported
I'd like you to just hold on one second. I have the chief of police right here, and he would like to speak.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. I heard it from your officer.
I'm sorry, what was that last comment?
You're the
Yes, and I just want to clear up some of this conversation. I was working that night. No commissioner, the mayor, the deputy mayor, or Commissioner Schiff was involved in any conversations about that parking. I had a conversation with a member of the rec department. I passed it on to the supervisor, and it was addressed. Unfortunately, the cars were parked illegally. It's clearly posted at at the pool that there's no overnight parking. If you knowingly park illegally, whether it's by ordinance or state statute, you should be prepared to face the consequences. It is what it is.
Okay, so it is what it is, sir. You're a man of safety, correct? Isn't that your job, safety, public safety?
Yes.
And didn't you report to whomever, and they said ticket them anyway? Is that true?
No commissioner was involved in any of the conversation, as far as I am aware, about.
I asked you if you reported or your subordinate reported that there was no parking available, and somebody said to you or your reportee, your designee, ticket them anyway. Is that a fact?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, well, somebody's not telling the truth, because I heard from, I won't mention his name, I'm not getting him in trouble, but that's what happened. That the police officer said, hey, we got a call, whatever, we got to ticket these people, I'm telling you there's nothing there, so we let it go, and somebody said, quote unquote, ticket them anyway. So whether somebody's going to fess up with that or not, my question to you is, it was unsafe here. Somebody decided to tell the person, hey, it's unsafe here, so we just let this go. There's nowhere to go. And you and somebody else decided to ticket anyway. I don't care about your signage. I care about safety. I care about the fact that it was back to back and nowhere to go.
I'm fully aware of who you spoke to, and I will speak to them about your conversation.
You want to have people park 3 miles away and walk? Is that what you want to do? So you can lean on the signage all you want. It was a poor decision. You should have overlooked it. There should be no swim team meetings on big holiday weekends. Use the pool as a backup and let it go. When somebody's parking there overnight and they're not at the pool and there's plenty of spots, slam with a ticket. But when there's no parking and we have nowhere to go, you need to look the other way. And that's what you should be doing. I don't want you relying on,
We can't argue this here in the commission meeting. Your best course is to call the court, set a court date, and argue your case there.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm gonna let Chief Lloyd wrap it up, and then I'm gonna get some follow-up comments, and then we're gonna move on. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, that's her best course of action. She can contact the court, set up a court date, and argue her case to the judge.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
And with respect to the law change, so the there's a first reading and a second reading of any ordinances, and there's always, as if you were listening earlier, there's a public hearing section, and that's generally the notice, and also the notice that goes into the papers of all the revisions that are made, or even new ordinances that are up for introduction. So there is a public notice process, so I apologize you weren't aware of it, but there was full notice given to all the venues that we are required to follow. With respect to the sheds are there temporarily, because Public Works, as you know, with the influx of summer staff and with additional pieces of equipment, we needed to find more room at the Public Works yard. So these beach patrol, which holds a lot of the beach patrol equipment, were temporarily placed short term in that lot, so that Public Works could operate without having to move around the sheds. As we work through the issues with the DEP, we're hoping to move those sheds back out to their location somewhere in the proximity of the new beach patrol building. With respect to the parking at the pool, so I think we all hear what you're saying. The problem is that if there's no local law that says you can't park there, and everybody starts to park there, and there are events, how do we, now the pool was open on July 4th, the pool was also open the next day. So if everybody knows that there is quote-unquote free parking on a municipal pool parking lot, all those spaces are then going to be used, and then where are the people that do want to use the pool going to go? So there's no, the police are doing their job, they're enforcing it, and when we get a lot of comments that they say they never enforce anything in the Crest, and now we do enforce, and now we're told that we shouldn't enforce. So it's a catch-22. So I want you just to keep that in the back in your mind. We'll definitely see if there's anything we can do. I can't make any promises, but we hear you loud and clear. I've also personally heard from at least one or two other folks that have received tickets. After I've explained that to them, they were generally okay with it. Listen, I think at the end of the day, July 4th, this was the busiest July 4th that I've ever seen in the Crest in terms of traffic and people and all that, which are good things. I know that there was parking in areas that I've never seen parking before on the west side. Usually it's the east. It starts east and it works its way to the west. It was all the way backed up to the bay on the side streets. So, and I'll look into the pumping station that you said was there where the sheds are, where there were 6 spaces. I know there was 3 along Topeka, and then I think there might have been 2 or 3 on New Jersey. I think that they were yellowed out when the new pump station was built just next to the little cafe. So I'm not sure if we can, free those up or not, but it's something we can look at. At least maybe we can free up, 4 to 6 spots.
Completely reasonable, and thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else on the conference line have any more public comment? We're going to move right to commissioner comments.
I have one. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
I'm just talking about I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the county lifeguard races were canceled this Monday. We were going to have them Wednesday, and we were canceled today because of the wind. So we're going to have them Monday at 6:15, just to let the community know about that. County lifeguard races.
That's July 15th, right?
I believe so, yes.
We received our final audit, which was very positive. So congratulations to Francine and all the department heads for doing an excellent job. The Crest is very great in terms of our finances and how we're doing, getting great return on our investments. So that's always a positive, those audits. So thanks.
My comments are, what a heck of a July 4th weekend we just had. I wanted to, I know everybody touches, what the borough, how the borough operates, but I want to say, personally, Public Works, the police department, recreation staff, everybody that was out there working throughout the holiday weekend. I was up and down the streets all day long and running and biking and riding and doing all the things, and everybody was hard at work, and it was the busiest, as far as I've been living here since 1986, busiest weekend I've ever seen on July 4th.
Agreed.
So congratulations to everybody, and thank you. And, it's never going to be perfect, as we work through some of the issues. We just have to have patience, and, as long as no one gets hurt, I think it's good to have a busy holiday. I know the businesses appreciate it, and that tells me that people are enjoying their investments here in Wildwood Crest. So that said, I'd like to Entertain a motion for Trish, I guess Trish, you need to read the closed session, and we'll go into.
Yes, sir.
I'll motion that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Authorizing executive close in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically NJSA 10:4-12B with regard to three issues: potential litigation, potential land acquisition, and contract negotiations for superior officers.
I'll motion that.
Second, Trish?
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call, Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.